Hold on, Kenny. Watch some cartoons with me. Okay, I will in a minute. Byron grabbed my arm before I could crawl behind the couch. Nah, man, at least stay for Felix the cat. Okay. I sat next to him on the couch. When Felix was over, I thought Byron would force me to watch more cartoons, but he didn't. He let me crawl back behind the couch. Check you out later, Kenny. See you, bye. As much time as Byron started spending on the couch, I thought I was going to have to make room for a bed for him in the world famous Watson Pet Hospital. Every time I'd look up, he'd be there, and we'd have to go eat or watch some TV or go to Mitchell's for something or change clothes or stuff like that. One day, his head popped over the back of the couch and he said, "Come on, I got something to show you." I knew I had to go. If I wouldn't, he'd pull me out by my legs. I followed Byron upstairs into the bedroom, and he stood in front of the sink and looked in the mirror. He scrunched his face up so he could see the bottom of his chin, then he took his thumb and finger and felt around there. He smiled and real slow pulled the thumb and finger away. "Check this out, Jack." I looked real close and there was a long, skinny black hair growing out of Byron's chin. He held it like it was worth $1 million. "And there's another one coming out too." This made me wonder about my mustache. I hadn't looked at it for a long time and thought it might be pretty long by now. I climbed up on the toilet and leaned over the sink to see. Maybe it was because I hadn't looked in the mirror for a long time, but as soon as I saw myself with my lazy eye still being lazy and my face looking so sad, I slammed my eyes shut and started crying. I even fell off the toilet. Byron caught me and set me on the floor. He knew this was some real embarrassing stuff, so he closed the bathroom door and sat on the tub and waited for me to stop, but I couldn't. I felt like someone had pulled a plug on me and every tear inside was rushing out. If there was a forest fire somewhere all smoky, the bear would have to do was hold me upside down over it and the fire would have a chance. Byron sat next to me on the floor and put my head in his lap. I still couldn't stop, even though I was soaking him worse than Joey ever drooled on anybody. It was real embarrassing. "I'm sorry, Bye." "Shut up and cry if you want." That sounded like a real good idea, so I did. I think I cried for about 200 hours. "Why would they do that, Byron?" I was sounding real bad. My throat was jumping around in my neck and making a bunch of weird noises. "Why would they hurt some little kids like that?" He waited a long time before he answered. "I don't know, Kenny. Mom and Dad say they can't help themselves. They did it because they're sick, but I don't know. I never heard of no sickness that makes you kill little girls just because you don't want them in your school. I don't think they're sick at all. I think they just hate. They just let hate eat them up and turn them into monsters. But it's okay now. They can't hurt you here. It's all right." My Adam's apple felt like it was going to blow a hole in my throat, but I said, "I did go to the church, Bye. I saw what had happened. I saw two of those little girls. I thought Joey got killed too." "We all did, Kenny. There ain't nothing wrong with you being sad or scared about that. I'm scared about it too. I got real scared too. But, man, no one's gonna hurt you here, Kenny." But, but, Bye. I tried to think how to say it. I'm not scared. I'm real ashamed of myself." That was it. That was the main thing I'd finally found out from being a patient in the world famous Watson Pet Hospital. "Kenny, you ain't got nothing to be ashamed of. You don't know what happened, Byron. You don't know what I did." "Man, everybody cried. Mama was crying, Dad was scared. He cried too. That was some real scary stuff. That was some real sad stuff." He still didn't understand. "Byron, I left Joey. I thought the Woolpoo had her, and instead of fighting him like you did, I left. I ran from him. How come you were brave enough to fight him, and all I could do was run? All I could do was save a shoe, a stupid ripped up shoe." I couldn't stop crying. "Oh man, you ain't gotta start talking that Woolpoo mess again, are you? I told you the Woolpoo was some made up garbage. I told you the only one I was fighting in the water was your stupid little behind. Wasn't no one in that water but you and me. That's what you think, Bye, but I know better. I've seen him twice." I couldn't believe Byron was still talking to me. Most of the time, if I started sounding weepy and whiny, he'd take right off. Look, Kenny, if you don't quit talking that wool poo nonsense, I'm gonna leave you in here to cry all alone. There ain't no such thing as a wool poo. Then he stopped sounding so mean and said, and there ain't no such thing as magic powers neither. I was surprised he'd brought up the magic powers. You think I don't know why you've been hanging out behind the couch? He grabbed my ear and twisted my head until I had to look at him. You think I don't know? You waiting for some stupid magic powers or genies or an angel to make you feel better? Dig this. You can wait behind that couch for the rest of your life, and ain't no magic powers gonna come back there and make you feel nothing. Only thing that's gonna happen back there is that you're gonna stunt your growth from being in a little ball all day. He pulled my ear to make sure I was listening. If you've been spending so much time thinking about how you didn't save Joey, why don't you stop and think about why she wasn't in that church? Why don't you spend some time thinking about who it was that led her away? But it wasn't me, Byron. I never. Man, shut up and listen. He twisted my ear to make me be quiet. Ain't no genies in this world, Kenny. Ain't no magic powers. There ain't even no angels. Not in this neighborhood, anyway. Man, I just don't get you. You're supposed to be the one who's so smart. How can you believe in something as stupid as magic powers and genies living behind a couch, but not believe it was a part of you that took Joey out of that church? Byron started throwing me curveballs. If if you hadn't been born, who would have had taken her away from that bomb? No one. If you hadn't been born, she would have walked out of that hot church and saw some stranger waving at her from across the street. You think she would have followed him? Hell no. She'd have gone right back in there. If you hadn't been born, who would have gone into that church to see if Joey really was in there? Me and Mama and Dad was all too scared. You was the only one brave enough to go in there. Every time he made a point, he'd twist my ear to make me understand better. But, but Byron, it's just not fair. What about those other kids? You know they had brothers and sisters and mamas and daddies who loved them just as much as we loved Joey. How come no one came and got them out of that church? How's it fair? How come their relatives wouldn't come and warn them? Byron let go of my ear and thought for a second. Kenny, things ain't ever going to be fair. How's it fair that two grown men could hate Negroes so much that they'd kill some kids just to stop them from going to school? How's it fair that even though the cops down there might know who did it, nothing will probably ever happen to those men? It ain't. But you just gotta understand that's the way it is and keep on stepping. Byron let me sniff and wipe my hand across my eyes before he slid my head back onto the linoleum and stood up. He went over and got some toilet paper and wiped my tears and my boogers off his legs. Then he let a couple of sheets of toilet paper float down and land on me and said, Blow your nose, wash your face. You've been behind that couch long enough. It's about time you cut this mess out. Mama and Dad beginning to think your little behind is seriously on the blink. Today's the day you check out of the world famous Watson Pet Hospital. Don't let me catch you back there no more. You ain't got no cause to be ashamed or scared of nothing. You smart enough to figure this one out of yourself. Besides, you getting the word from the top wolf himself. You gonna be alright, baby bruh. I swear for you God. He walked over to the mirror and scrunched his face up so he could look at his chin again. Then he used his thumb and finger to pull that long, skinny black hair out a little bit. He let the hair go, smiled at himself, and ran his hands along his head like he was brushing his hair. Shoot! I sure wish someone would come clean and tell me who my real folks was. There just ain't no way in hell two people as ugly as your mama and daddy could have had a child as fine as me. He blew himself a kiss in the mirror, then left the bathroom. Before he shut the door, I could see that Mama and Dad and Joey were standing there in a little knot, trying not to let me know that they were eavesdropping. Mama whispered, What's going on, Bi? Why was Kenny crying like that? Is he okay? He told her. Kenny's gonna be cool. He's related to me, ain't he? Byron Watson, how many times am I going to have to tell you about saying ain't? Some of the times it was hard to figure Byron out. He was very right about some things, and he was very wrong about some things. He was very wrong when he said the wool poo was something he'd made up. If he'd ever had his ankle grabbed by it, he'd know it was real. If he'd seen it the way it was crouched down, crawling around in the dust and the smoke of the church in Birmingham, he'd know it wasn't some made up garbage. If he'd ever seen those horrible toes, he'd know the wool poo was as serious as a heart attack. He was also very wrong about there not being anything like magic powers or genies or angels. Maybe those weren't the things that could make a run over dog walk without wobbling, but they were out there. Maybe they were in the way your father smiled at you, even after you messed something up real bad. Maybe they were in the way you understood that your mother wasn't trying to make you the laughing stock of the whole school when she'd call you over in front of a bunch of your friends and you spit on her finger to wipe the sleep out of your eyes. Maybe it was the magic powers that let you know she was just being mama. Maybe they were the reason that you really didn't care when the kids would say, "Yuck, you let your mama slob on you?" And you had to say, "Shut up, that's my mama. We got the same germs." Maybe there were genies in the way your sister would throw a stupid tea party for you and you had fun even though it was kind of embarrassing to sit at a little table and sip water out of plastic teacups. Maybe there were magic powers hiding in the way your older brother made all the worst thugs in the neighborhood play basketball with you, even though you double dribbled every time they threw you the ball. And I'm sure there was an angel in Birmingham when Grandma Sands wrapped her little arms around all of the weird Watson and said, "My family, my beautiful, beautiful family." Climbed up on the toilet and leaned over the sink to take a look. I smiled. Darwin was very right about some things, too. He was very right when he said I was too smart to believe magic powers lived behind a couch. He also knew what he was talking about when he said I was going to be all right. Joetta banged on the bathroom door. "Kenny, Byron said you're feeling much better now. If that's right, come on out. I gotta go to the bathroom real bad." She said real like it had a million letters in it. Some of the time, I wondered if there really was something wrong with me. A few minutes ago, I'd been crying on the floor like a kindergarten baby, and now I was looking in the mirror laughing. I blew my nose and splashed a little water in my face, 'cause I wanted to go out. Besides, I had to think of a way to get at least half of my dinosaurs back from Rufus. "Come on in, Joey."